Teresa, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me here today. Today we're going to be using our gel plate to create some faux washi tape. And when it's finished, it's going to look a lot like this. I've just got strips of it here laid on top of this piece of paper. And I'll also just show you that you can create some really fun and funky Christmas cards using this tape. All you're going to need is your gel plate, some acrylic paint, some sticky tape, whether it be a glossy finish or a matte finish, and some things for making marks. I'm going to be using some rubber stamps, foam stamps, and some bottle tops, just things that you find around the house, a stencil. Use whatever you want to create your own unique individual faux washi tape. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'll be back to show you how it's done. I'm going to begin with a quick rundown of the products we're using today. Doesn't matter what size plate you use, but obviously the larger the plate that you're using, the more of this tape you're going to be able to make in one session. I've got my 8 by 10 inch plate here. I've also got my 5 by 7 inch plate set off at the side, and I'm going to be working on that as well, just because it gives me more surface area and I'll get a bigger batch of tape. Things like this where we have to let the layers dry can be a little bit more time consuming, so it's always good if you've got more than one plate, work on them all at the same time, and that just cuts down on the length of the project altogether. I'm using acrylic paint today, and I'm using the Arteza paints again. Because this is a Christmassy project, I'm using some red and some green. So I've got pale green and phthalo green, brilliant red and carmine red. I've also got some black and white because I like using that for mark making. And talking of mark making, I've got a couple of bottle caps that I've just saved here that I can dip in paint and create circles with. This little plastic tube, different size circle. I've got a palette, and I'll just pop some paint in so that I can dip these items in there and mark on the surface. I've got a couple of stamps as well. This is a really old, I don't even think who it's by. Studio G, don't know. I've had this many years. Just an old snowflake stamp. Don't mind if I get that all sort of gunked up with acrylic paint, so I'm going to use that today. And I've got this foam stamp that looks like a fir branch. This one is Tim Holtz from the Cutout Floral set of foam stamps. I've also got a stencil, just an all-over design. I like this one here. As you can see, it's well used, covered in paint. This is by joggles.com. But again, any stencil that you've got would work. Or if you don't have a stencil, don't worry about it. There's plenty of other things that you could use to make some patterning and marks in the background. I've also got a brayer, as always. This is the Speedball rubber brayer that I'm using today. Use any type of brayer. They should all work absolutely fine on the plate. And I've got some torn up strips of paper here that I'm just going to use for masking off some areas. So I've just sort of ripped some random strips. And of course we've got our sticky tape. Now I've got two types here. I'm going to see if I prefer one over the other. This is the regular, just shiny finish, clear sticky tape, sellotape, packing tape, whatever you want to call it. This is about 1 inch wide. Again, use whatever you've got. If you've got the very wide stuff, that's going to make a really nice wide border. But I've got these little mini roll-on dispensers, so I'm going to use that. I've also got this tape that has a matte finish. I think the main point for the matte finish is that you're able to write on it afterwards. It has this sort of frosted look, but I'm hoping that once I've used it, the colours are still going to shine through, and just see what the difference is. So I'm going to be working with both of those just to have a compare and see which I prefer. Other than that, I've got some water, some baby oil, paper towels, things for cleaning up, and a scrap of paper off to the side if I need to clean my brayer off as well. But I think it's ready to start, and I'm going to begin by masking off some areas with these torn strips of paper.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes, and I want it all, from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you warm as soon.
Now I'm going to remove the strips of paper and let this first layer dry completely. It's probably going to take around 15 to 20 minutes. Don't be tempted to rush it. Don't be tempted to try and speed it up with a heat tool. Just, I don't know, go and make a cup of tea and come back to it once it's dry. Once your layer of paint is dry, you can move on to the second layer. And for this, I'm going to use my stencil. So just going to place this over the top of my plate. And I'm going to apply another colour of paint. So this time I'm going to use my darker shades of red and green.
As you remove that snow, whatever we do, we will be alright. These holiday wonders will open your mind. May all your wishes tonight come true.
We're going to let that layer dry. Again, once that layer is dry, we can move on to our next one, and I'm going to start doing some mark making now. So first of all, I think I'm going to do my circles using my various lids that I've got. And for this, I'm just going to pop some of my paint, some black and white paint, into my palette so that I can dip my bottle caps and little plastic tube into the paint.
The love I lived, the dream I knew. This Christmas I only wanna be close to you. Whatever we do, we will be alright. These holidays.
Once you're happy with your coverage and your placement, let this dry, and then we'll move on to our final layer, which will be using a couple of stamps. And finally, it's time for me to apply my final layer, and that's going to be using the stamps. So I'm going to be using this little foam stamp of a fir branch, and I've got some of my dark green paint in a palette. Now you can either dip it in, or if you find it easier, just apply it to your stamp with a paintbrush. This paint's quite thick, so I find this easier just to paint onto my foam stamp.
Wonders will open your mind. May all your wishes tonight come true. The love I lived, the dream I knew. Well, I'm all for.
Finally, we're going to do the same with the snowflake stamp. This time I'm going to be using some white paint, and again I'm just going to paint some on to my stamp.
For Christmas, it's a magical time full of kisses. Take a walk outside and tickle the snowman's nose. Moving nimbly, did you hear?
And leave this to dry. Now give this a good 20 minutes minimum, possibly 30 minutes. Some of the paint when you stamp on may be a bit thicker than the braid layers, so make sure this is completely dry before moving on to the process of lifting. So finally, if your patience has paid off, you will have a completed dried pattern on your gel plate, and now it's time to apply the sticky tape to lift off and create our patterned faux washi tape. And to do this, you just want to apply strips of tape across your plate, whichever way you want. I mean, I'm going to go across this way, so I've got red and green on each strip, but you could choose to go this way and have some green strips and some red strips. It's entirely up to you. Start at the top, start at the bottom, but start right near an edge and pop your tape down onto the plate and press it down And I'm going to continue applying strips all the way across, as close to each other as I can get them, but don't overlap them. You want to be able to remove them separately. And I'm going to do this all the way across my plate. Once you've covered your whole plate, and I've sort of alternated so I've got an even number of the glossy and the matte tape, you want to make sure it's pressed down completely. So you can use your fingers, you could use the back of a wooden spoon, use a bone folder if you've got one. Just burnish it down onto the plate, just so that you know you've got good contact on all areas of this tape. Then it's time to remove the tape along with your printed pattern. And if I pop that down on a piece of paper so you can see it, really like that. Now you can, obviously the areas that have no paint on will still be sticky, so you could apply a little glitter behind there if you wanted to, some metallic flakes, or just leave it as it is, and when you come to attach it to your card, the colour of the card underneath will show through. I'll take a couple of the matte ones off so that you can see that. If you leave a little bit of paint behind, just go back and press down again. So that's still, this gives us a different finish, gives us a more realistic washi finish really, with it being a matte finish rather than a gloss finish. So I'm going to continue lifting my tape off my plate, and then what I'll do is create a couple of ideas, sample ideas for what you can do with it. I've created 4 simple cards here just to show you how you might go about using your faux washi tape that you've created today. Obviously, if you use washi tape regularly, then you'll probably have your own ideas of how you want to use it. Maybe you use it in planners. This would be perfect for anyone who's doing the December dailies and things like that. I tend not to do that sort of thing, so I like to use washi tape in my cards, and I've made 4 sort of quite simple contemporary styled Christmas cards. So here I've put some of the green and the red along the bottom of this card here, added a die cut banner and a snowflake, a little gem. I think that looks really, really pretty. I've got another one here using a snowflake. This time I created a background with 4 strips and used the areas where the red went into the green just to sort of get some nice gradient effect. Backed my snowflake onto some silver mirror card and added a little red gem in the middle. Really like that one too. This time I just wanted this stamp to be the focus of the card really. It's a lovely stamp. So just popped a strip of the green at the top and the bottom of this slimline card, matted my stamp onto some green just to tie that all in. Again, I think it's a really nice idea, quick and easy. And finally, this one here, I put 2 strips of tape down. And before I stuck these down, I put some iridescent glitter behind the tape. And I hope that you can see that, just showing through some of these areas where there was no paint. Just added a little bit of shimmer there. But again, just pop 2 pieces of the tape onto a card front. I'd got a wooden sentiment here and some little gems. And I think, again, a nice, simple contemporary card. Now, as for how I attached this tape, obviously when we created our tape, and as you can see, I've still got plenty left here, I just lay the strips on a piece of paper so that they didn't all get tangled up. When I came to use it, I found the easiest way is to either use some double-sided tape or double-sided adhesive sheets. Now, I don't have any double-sided tape that's the same width as this, so I took a double-sided adhesive sheet and stuck my tape to that, and then I can just peel off the paper backing when I'm ready and stick it down. So here, this is another one where I've got a little bit more of that glitter in there as well. But I just find that makes it a lot easier. Wet glues are likely to reactivate the paint that's on the bottom, and a glue stick, if you've got to scrub the glue stick on the back of the tape, again, chances are it's going to dislodge some of that paint. So I would suggest if you have a double-sided tape that is the same width, use that. If not, just buy some double-sided adhesive sheets, come in all different sizes, and just lay your pieces of tape on them and just trim them down into the strips, and then they're ready to use. But as always, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this has inspired you for another way that you can use your plate. Again, not my original idea. This has been done before many times by different people. I've created a faux washi tape by printing onto masking tape before. That's in my gel printing playlist if you want to go and take a look at that video. But I've never tried this technique myself. Really like it. I think my personal preference is the matte finish tape. As pretty as the glossy one is, I do like this more matte finish. And I say this one that's got a bit of glitter behind it. This one is just direct down onto the card, but I do very much like it. So please, if you enjoyed the video, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.
Did you hear something from the chimney? I will keep you warm as soon as you remove that snow.